Hey YouTube, Gamer Hushu here with another driving video. I make these videos on my 20 to 30 minute commute to my college classes each day. I'll just pop the camera on, and today's not going to be a gaming video. It's going to be political because, I don't know, I thought I'd talk about the vote in America. So if you follow my Twitter, I tweeted about this. I was in my sociology class yesterday and came to find out only 27% of my classmates had any intention of voting at all this year. And that was just sad. Because I think part of it is the fact that I live in like the liberal... So I live in Arkansas, and I live in northwest Arkansas, where everyone up here is pretty liberal. We have a very liberal college. I live in a liberal college town. Get a lot of like kind of weird people on street corners. Well, not a lot compared to like LA or something, but we got a lot of like Democrats, liberal people, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. I'm fairly liberal myself, but the rest of Arkansas is really conservative because we have that, half of our state that legitimately is the Southern Baptist conservative. And that's fine too. But I feel like a large portion of the reason that like none of my classmates wanted to vote is illegitimately feeling like your vote doesn't matter. Because, everybody up here, for example, the vast majority, if they voted, probably voted for a liberal governor. I mean, the Democrat candidate for governor this year, Jared Henderson, as far as I can tell, lives in northwest Arkansas, campaigned a ton up here, but still lost out to the incumbent who does relatively nothing. I mean, I looked up his his platform and was like, this is the most generic platform I've ever seen for like any candidate ever. And he still won. Because, half this state is solidly Republican. And that's fine. It's just this weird thing that you certainly feel like your vote doesn't matter because every single person in northwest Arkansas could vote Democrat and a Republican would still win 9 out of 10 times or whatever. So that kind of sucked. And even with all of the hype for these midterm elections, and there's going to be a lot of hype come 2020, if this election means anything, and all the celebrities being like, go vote, and I tune into Rhett and Link and they're like, don't forget to vote, like constantly for the past month. Every single Good Mythical Morning, they're like, don't forget to vote. And, I think voter turnout was probably higher than usual. I mean, the national average for my age bracket, 20-somethings, in one of their first 1 or 2 elections they can vote in, the national average is like 20%. So we're slightly higher, but it's still nothing. I mean, 3 out of 4 people just didn't vote, apparently, around here. Which sucks, because it's not just candidates, it's issues. In Arkansas, we voted on an issue of whether or not you should be required to have a current ID. Because the current law is, you just need to have an ID that, it can be 10 years expired. I forget how many years specifically, but I walk in there like, yeah, it's okay if you have an expired driver's license. which is just dumb to me, because you're going to register to vote and not renew your license. In addition, if you're making the effort to register to vote, you might as well renew your government-issued ID. But I mean, that gets into a whole weird thing. Like, people claim, oh, black people are impoverished, so they're less likely to have a car and have an ID. I looked it up. In Arkansas, it costs you $5. $5 to get a government-issued ID that's not a driver's license. And you need, like, your birth certificate. It's not hard. So, I mean, I don't know. I voted, yeah, you should have a current ID. Everyone should probably have a current ID regardless of voting status. Just because it's useful for things. I mean, of course you want your driver's license current if you drive a car. Otherwise, the cop will fine you $100 when he pulls you over. Everyone's bound to, I mean, I don't know what the culture is other places, but you're bound to get pulled over by a cop every so often. I don't know, I've gotten pulled over for broken taillights more often than I've gotten pulled over for anything more legitimate. But you're still supposed to have a driver's license anyway. I don't know. I mean, that comes from my own experience. I mean, ever since I've got my driver's license, I've always had a car around that I could drive. So I'm like, why wouldn't my license be current? I need to drive. I need to be able to go places. Anyway, it's beside the point, I suppose, to a certain degree. So I mean, that's just my thing. Why don't people vote? You might as well. I voted early because I didn't want to deal with, you know, the crazy ramping up of, because about a week ago, all the signs came out, and there were signs on top of signs, especially around the courthouse, which was the major voting location. Everybody had their signs. They had their trucks covered in giant signs, paint jobs. Vote such and such. Vote such and such. I was like, I already voted. But I went, and I expected there to be like 2 people ahead of me in line at least. There was like one other person voting in the 20 minutes I was there. So that's the other thing. Voting doesn't have to take a long time. I don't know. I mean, I hate going out of my way to do stuff. I was like, I guess I should vote. So I did. I went and did it early because I knew I could. So I guess that's just my thing. Be involved. I mean, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not sure that anybody I voted for won. Actually ended up voting for a fair handful of libertarians just because I hate both parties right now to a certain extent. But I don't think anybody I voted for won, but the statistics are still useful. You can see what people really think and what direction the public thinks is the right direction, which is ultimately a good thing, even if it isn't directly useful. Even if our votes for president aren't directly, you know, the popular vote went to Hillary Clinton, but more states voted for Trump or whatever, the Electoral College, you still get the statistics, and you can say, okay, this percent of people support what Republicans think. And that's useful. At very least, contribute to useful statistics. Because if only 20% of... I hate to use the term millennial because I keep getting kicked out of that. I was born 5 years before the frickin' millennium. So I'm like, I've lived into millennia. I'm a millennial. I don't know how the heck that's supposed to work. But if only 20% of millennials voted, we have a terrible statistic of what millennials actually think. Because our sample size is, just a chunk of what people actually think. And I mean, if you're an anarchist and you never vote, you're not in the statistics. I don't know. Y'all should vote, and you didn't. All you people who skipped it, why? Whatever. Midterms are over, things are changing, but not really. I mean, different majorities or whatever, in the grand scheme of things, shouldn't mean that much. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if you didn't vote in this election, you do not get to complain about Congress for the next 2 years. That's how it should work. You're not allowed to complain. Oh, these politicians suck. Why are they in office? You didn't vote. You didn't vote. So that means you obviously don't care about Congress right now. Which means if you turn around and in 3 days when, I don't know, give it a week, that caravan is going to hit the Mexico border and you're like, I hate that Congress is allowing this to happen. Whatever happens, you can't complain. Because you could have changed stuff. But you didn't. I'm going to go look up the statistics of what the actual voter turnout was. So I just have the anecdotal 145 people in my class. Anyway. That's about it. Random political thing. I hope this isn't controversial. You should have voted, those of you who didn't. And, 2 people are going to see this video in the next year, probably. Oh well. Gamer who shoot out.